I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I thought I would come in front of you and play in front of about 10,000 people, do my job, go home, come back the next night, and repeat it.
I had the opportunity to come back here. You know, it was something I couldn't turn it down. And I'm just
old school kind of player that plays through things and makes no excuses. And he's
There have been many great duos in the history of the NBA, but none better or more fun to follow than Kobe and Shaq. They won 3 titles in a row together.
The greatest NBA legends didn't just leave the game. They left behind moments so strange, emotional, and unforgettable that fans still argue about them years later. Some walked away as heroes, others limped into silence, and one final performance changed how an entire career is remembered. But which farewell was the most heartbreaking? Which legend never got the ending he deserved? And whose last game will completely surprise you?
I wish I could take a magic pill, put on shorts, and go out and play the game of basketball today. Because that's who I am. That's that type of competition, that type of competitiveness is what I live for, and I miss it. I miss that aspect of playing the game of basketball, being able to challenge myself again.
What about the last shot you ever took as a member of the Chicago Bulls?
Pippen into Jordan. Michael working on...
Every NBA legend spends years convincing us they're immortal. They dominate the league so completely that we stop imagining basketball without them, as if the jerseys, the highlight reels, and the impossible moments will somehow keep going forever.
You don't realize how hard the NBA is until you really are in the NBA, like in it. Like the daily grind of everything. When you're young, it's the worst. It's like you playing play group, you doing shoot around practice, everything the team does you do, and then you're doing everything more. Yeah. It's like all the rehab guys, if you're young, you're thrown into everything. Yeah.
If Shaq had been healthy, we would have won the championship because we didn't need Shaq to be Shaq of the Lakers. We just needed his presence. But we got off to an amazing start. Look at that. All we needed him to do that sometimes. Good presence.
Was that his only highlight with the Celtics? Because it's the only one that's ever played from this era, is it not?
Then one day, without asking anyone's permission, the final buzzer sounds, and a career that once felt endless quietly becomes history. The strange part is that legendary careers rarely end the way we imagine they will.
If I couldn't play basketball at the level that I'm accustomed to, then I wouldn't have made a decision. I didn't want to come back and embarrass myself. I know I can play, and I'm gonna prove that.
So you were part of Kobe's last game, and I was never a point when you guys stopped playing defense and were like, let Kobe get whatever he wanted, right?
There was not. Now that game was different than any game I've ever been a part of as well. I mean, he took 60 shots that game or whatever he did, 50 shots, I think, something like that. So, I mean, that one was also like not a legitimate game. Both teams were out. We knew we weren't making the playoffs. They knew they weren't making the playoffs.
Hollywood tells us every hero walks off into the sunset after one last championship, one last game-winning shot, and one last speech that leaves the entire arena in tears. Real life usually has other plans. Sometimes greatness disappears in an empty gym with barely anyone paying attention. Sometimes injuries steal the ending before the player is ready.
Starting that game, the only thing I wanted for Kobe was to have a good game. Not a great game, just have a good game, And remembering with 6-minute mark left, he's at 40, and I looked up oh my God, I can't believe this, what a way to go out, and he's huffing and puffing over there on the bench, because he's just exhausted. And I remember going back and saying to him, I said, you got 6 more minutes in that body of yours? And he said, absolutely. Like that, absolutely. He was that tired. And to go back out for the next 6 minutes and get 20 more points,
Sometimes the greatest competitor in the world discovers that the only opponent nobody has ever defeated is the calendar. That is what makes these final games so fascinating. They reveal something championships never could. Once the trophies have been polished, the confetti has been swept away, and the crowds have gone home, all that remains is one final performance. some legends received the goodbye every athlete dreams about. It feels appropriate to begin with a man who spent nearly 2 decades treating basketball rims like they had personally insulted him. There has never really been another Shaquille O'Neal. Trying to stop prime Shaq was like trying to stop a freight train by politely asking it to slow down. Opposing centers spent entire careers collecting bruises, broken confidence, and enough embarrassing posters to fill an art museum. Coaches built entire defensive systems around one simple objective: survive. Unfortunately, Father Time does not care how many backboards you shattered.
And then you run into Akeem and them in the finals.
That was my fault we lost.
Why you say that?
Because as a leader, I didn't lead. After we beat the Bulls, I let up. And off the record, we had 8 days off. Me and D. Scott was doing stuff we weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then when we get in the game, we hang out with them. Go to Houston, we know we don't have a shot, so we get swept. But it just taught me never to celebrate too early. And it also put that hunger in me. And I said, okay, if I ever get back to the finals ever again, I got to dominate.
When Shaq joined the Boston Celtics before the 2010-11 season, the idea sounded almost poetic. Boston already had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, and adding one more Hall of Famer seemed like the final ingredient for another championship run. Fans imagined one last dominant playoff stretch from the Big Diesel, even if the body was already sending very different messages. His knees had endured almost 20 years of carrying more than 300 pounds through NBA battles. The explosiveness that once terrified defenders had faded, and every movement looked just a little more difficult than before. He managed only 37 regular season games, averaging 9 points and fewer than 5 rebounds second-round series against the Miami Heat, the franchise where he had captured his 4th championship only a few years earlier. It almost felt like basketball was offering him one final reunion. Instead, it became a painful reminder that the game had already moved on. With Boston struggling, the coaching staff inserted Shaq into Game 3. He played only a handful of minutes and scored just 2 points.
It was unbelievable. So I knew he was in trouble because I told the team, before the game, I said, this is something that you guys have never experienced. So when we come out, make sure you're focused on the game, because we had the Staples Center, right? So the guys come out, me and my coaching staff, we walk out about the 3-minute mark instead of 2-minute mark. And I'm standing there and I'm watching our guys warm up and I'm going, man, we about to get the shit beat out of us. Because they were like,
looking around.
Deer in headlights.
Man.
You know that LA effect firsthand.
Yeah, I said, we about to get the shit beat out of us, right? And they went up by 25 so fast. For the rest of the game, we played even. But, they swept us.
In Game 4, he barely saw the floor again, contributing 4 minutes without recording a single point, rebound, or assist as Miami pushed the Celtics toward elimination. Those few forgettable minutes turned out to be the final moments of one of the most dominant careers the league had ever witnessed. 3 weeks later, Shaq announced his retirement through a short video on social media. It almost feels unfair when you remember who he once was. This was the player who collected 4 championships, 3 consecutive Finals MVP awards, and forced teams across the league to sign giant centers whose only qualifications seemed to be turned that image into one of its favorite memes, proving that even legends cannot escape the ruthless sense of humor sports fans possess. Basketball can be wonderfully sentimental one moment and absolutely savage the next. Yet Shaq's ending teaches an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes greatness does not receive the farewell it deserves because the body decides the story is over before the heart agrees. Fortunately, not every legend experiences that kind of goodbye. Some athletes get the rare privilege of hearing the applause while they can still appreciate every second of it. Dirk Nowitzki belongs in that exclusive club.
What are your memories of playing against Kobe? To what extent did you consider him a rival?
I was a big Kobe fan, even while we played against each other. Felt like how he approached the game. To me, he was the complete package. He had the killer instinct, he had the athleticism, he had the skill level.
For me, in a completely different style, was Dirk. It was disrespectful. He'd shoot that slow ass, like,
it was coming.
And you know what? It was the most disrespectful thing. Dallas had those mics on the rims, and he shot it so high that you would be forced. It was like a slow motion sequence at the end of the movie where you're like, you contest, you turn around, the ball's not even halfway there. You're like, ah.
Unlike Shaq, Dirk's farewell unfolded exactly the way basketball fans hoped it would. Everyone could see retirement approaching, even if he refused to announce it months in advance. After 21 seasons with one franchise, countless impossible fadeaway jumpers, and a championship run that still feels like a basketball fairy tale, Dallas understood it was time to celebrate one of the greatest careers in NBA history. By 2019, Dirk was 40 years old, and every step reminded everyone how much punishment his body had absorbed. The Mavericks were no longer championship contenders, but strangely, nobody cared about the standings anymore. Every game became another opportunity for fans to say thank you. Opposing arenas welcomed him with tribute videos instead of boos. Players lined up to exchange jerseys. Even longtime rivals suddenly looked suspiciously emotional, which is always awkward when you've spent 20 years trying to eliminate each other from the playoffs. Then came his final home game against Phoenix. The Mavericks were playing for pride rather than playoff positioning. Yet the atmosphere inside the arena felt like Game 7 of the finals. Dirk responded by turning back the clock. He poured in 30 points, knocked down 5 three-pointers, and reminded everyone that the famous one-legged fadeaway remained basketball's most unfair magic trick. Defenders had spent 2 decades studying it, preparing for it, and somehow still arriving just late enough to watch another shot fall cleanly through the net. When the game ended, the emotion finally overwhelmed him.
Mate, in the booth, Dirk, yo, that game, dog, I remember that game. I don't know if you remember that game. When he shot that last-minute shot, bro, like, I don't know who was guarding him, but it was in the air, felt like it was in the air for 20 minutes.
The top of the key?
Yes.
Yeah, in the garden?
Yes, in the garden, bro, and I'm sitting there like,
no. That was on me. I'm like, I just gonna be physical with him. Don't let him turn and face, jam him. You know, he kept the ball high. I'm looking. Dirk.
Standing before the Dallas crowd, Dirk thanked the organization, his teammates, and the fans who had embraced him from the day a skinny German teenager arrived in Texas with an unusual shooting stroke and an even stranger accent. His voice cracked repeatedly because some moments simply refused to let even the toughest competitors stay composed. The next night brought the official final game of his career in San Antonio, a city that had witnessed some of his greatest playoff battles against Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Before tip-off, Greg Popovich embraced him, and even Spurs fans rose to applaud a man they had spent years desperately hoping would finally miss that impossible fadeaway. Dirk rewarded them with one final vintage performance, scoring 20 points while collecting 10 rebounds. He completed one of the most graceful exits the sport has ever seen. Not every legend gets to choose the perfect ending. Some have it taken away, and the next player discovered that even one of the greatest basketball minds ever could not outthink a body that refused to cooperate. Larry Bird's final chapter was about to become one of the most painful endings any superstar has ever endured. A bad shooting night can be forgotten.
Make me cry, and you probably will. I've been very blessed over the years. I played with some of the greatest players that ever played the basketball game. I had an opportunity to play with Robert Parrish. I had a chance to play with Kevin McHale. I had a chance to play with Tiny Archibald, Cedric Maxwell, and Dennis Johnson, and more and more and more. Yes, I'm going to miss playing for the Boston Celtics because I was very proud to play for the Boston Celtics.
A tough playoff loss eventually fades into history. Even heartbreaking defeats become easier to accept as new seasons begin. Chronic pain, however, is a completely different opponent because it follows you home, wakes up with you the next morning, and quietly reminds you that no amount of determination can negotiate with your own body. Larry Bird learned that lesson the hard way. By the early 1990s, Bird's back had become his greatest rival. This was not the occasional soreness that comes with a long season. His spine had deteriorated so badly that simple tasks like bending over to tie his shoes became painful challenges. During games, he often stretched out flat on the bench just to keep his back from tightening up, creating one of the strangest sights in NBA history. His vision remained unmatched, his shooting touch never disappeared, and his understanding of spacing made younger defenders look like they had wandered into the wrong classroom. Unfortunately, basketball requires more than intelligence. Your body has to cooperate, and Bird's had already submitted its resignation.
When you look at the era in which you played, what was that era like?
We should always give credit to the guys who came before us.
Correct.
Y'all making this money because y'all were born at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not better than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird.
Right.
Because those guys did all the heavy lifting. Every time I meet Magic and Bird, I tell them guys, man, thank y'all. I'm disappointed in these guys today with this low management. We're not teachers. We're not nurses. We're not in the service. We play a stupid basketball game for 3 or 4 days a week. You're gonna make 30, 40 million. I'm pretty sure the nurse don't want to go to work sometime. I'm pretty sure teachers can't load manage. Man, just play basketball. You got the best shoes. Can you imagine being around?
The 1991-92 season became a constant battle between heart and health. Bird played only 45 games, the fewest of his career outside of injury-plagued campaigns. Yet he still averaged 20 points because greatness has a funny way of surviving even when everything else is falling apart. Every possession became a balancing act between brilliance and agony. Boston still reached the playoffs because Bird refused to surrender without a fight. The Celtics handled Indiana in the first round, but the second-round matchup against Cleveland exposed just how much pain their superstar was enduring. Bird managed only 4 games in the series before his back finally won the argument. His last NBA appearance came with 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Respectable numbers that hardly reflected the torture hidden beneath every movement. Bird still wanted to play. His basketball mind remained as sharp as ever. He could still outthink almost everyone on the floor. Yet none of that mattered because the engine driving the machine had completely worn out. It serves as a reminder that talent can survive aging much longer than the body can. Still, if Bird's farewell was heartbreaking, the next legend somehow turned his final game into one of the greatest performances the sport has ever witnessed. Greg Popovich carefully managed his playing time throughout the regular season, hoping to preserve enough energy for one final championship run. Unfortunately, basketball rarely guarantees perfect endings. The Spurs encountered a young and explosive Oklahoma City Thunder team led by Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in the second round of the playoffs.
He was also the only guy, and I played against, I don't even know, but I played against a lot of guys that were Hall of Famers, played with a lot of Hall of Famers. Reggie Miller, Clyde Drexler, Mitch Richmond. He was the only guy that I ever played against that at no point could you relax, ever guarding him, because he was that voracious in wanting to attack, always. Because when you guarded Reggie Miller, yeah, man, you chase him for 5 straight minutes.
Dumping it down to Rick Smith.
At some point, he's going to pop out. They're going to run, turn 5. He's going to catch the ball, throw it into Rick Smith's, and go spot up. And you're like, okay, this is somebody else's problem. All of those guys kind of did that, not him.
Most players dream about scoring the game-winning basket in their last game. Kobe Bryant apparently looked at that idea and thought, why stop there? By 2016, the farewell tour had become emotional but also painfully honest. Kobe's body had endured 20 relentless seasons of impossible workloads, devastating injuries, and countless nights playing through pain that most athletes would never consider. The torn Achilles had changed everything. His explosiveness had disappeared, his efficiency had dropped dramatically, and critics had begun wondering whether he had stayed too long. For months, every arena celebrated him. Generations of Lakers fans filling every available seat because everyone understood they were about to witness the final chapter of one of basketball's greatest careers. Ironically, the game itself carried no importance in the standings. The Lakers had endured one of the worst seasons in franchise history, winning only 17 games, while their opponent, the Utah Jazz, had already missed the playoffs as well. Yet none of those details mattered anymore because the evening had become something much bigger than basketball. It had become a celebration of 20 unforgettable years spent watching one of the fiercest competitors the game had ever produced.
I really don't even remember. All I remember is I had the opportunity to win the game, and I lost it. That's all I remember, but you just help that to improve your game and to improve you as a person. I mean, those are things that can easily break you, or they can help you grow stronger. And I'm not the type that's gonna break easily. So I just put that in my memory bank, realized that I had the game in my hands, and I came up short. My team trusted in me to get the job done. Hopefully, Game 7 this season, I had the same opportunity.
Kobe Bryant had announced months earlier that this would be his final season, and every arena across the league had turned into a tribute. Opposing teams played emotional highlight videos before games, rival players lined up to exchange handshakes and embrace him, and fans who had once cheered against, years of relentless determination had taken their toll. A torn Achilles tendon, knee injuries, and countless smaller ailments had slowly robbed him of the explosiveness that made him one of the most feared scorers in basketball history. His shooting percentages had declined dramatically, and critics openly questioned whether he had stayed in the league longer than he should have. For a while, it appeared those critics might be proven right on the biggest night of all. Kobe opened the game by missing 5 consecutive shots, and the early minutes felt strangely uncomfortable. The Lakers quickly fell behind, and there was a growing sense that reality might spoil the perfect farewell everyone had imagined. Social media had already begun preparing the inevitable jokes. while skeptical fans quietly wondered whether this emotional celebration would end with an aging superstar struggling through one final disappointing performance. Almost without warning, everything changed. Kobe settled into a rhythm that looked remarkably familiar. His footwork became sharper, his confidence returned, and every difficult jumper seemed to unlock another piece of the player the basketball world had admired for 2 decades. With every basket, the energy inside Staples Center intensified. The crowd grew louder after every possession until the building sounded more like Game 7 of the NBA Finals than the final game of a lost season. His teammates immediately recognized what was happening and happily abandoned any concern for balanced offense because everyone understood that winning had become secondary. Their only mission was to repeatedly making shots that seemed impossible for a player whose body had been through so much punishment. Every possession felt more dramatic than the last, and with each jumper, the impossible slowly transformed into reality. By the time the final buzzer sounded, Kobe had scored an astonishing 60 points on 50 shot attempts, becoming the oldest player in NBA history to score at least 60 points in a game. The statistics alone were remarkable, but they only tell part of the story. The true magic came from the emotion surrounding every basket.
How was that 60-point night to end Kobe's career? He came to practice the day before. I'm gonna go out how I came in, like, I'm gunning. All the vets were like, yeah, I don't want to play. I just want to watch. So that left me, JC, D-Lo, Julius playing 30-plus minutes. B. Scott used to tell us, like, they're not gonna call a foul. Steadily.
So game 1, I was like, I was a little passive. They beat us. Game 2, I said, fuck this shit. I'm going for it. And I said, whatever it takes. And I come out, I'm fucking so aggressive. But Michael know I'm fucking aggressive. He's like, I can see he's talking to Horace and Scotty, like, y'all gotta slow that motherfucker down. Because Horace, to me, was one of the more underrated players.
Fans were not simply watching points accumulate on a scoreboard. They were witnessing 20 years of memories compressed into 48 unforgettable minutes. It felt as though every championship, every game-winning shot, every impossible fadeaway, and every lesson of the famed Mamba mentality had returned for one final performance. For a brief evening, time seemed willing to grant one final favor to one of its greatest competitors. When the game finally ended, Kobe stood at center court exhausted, drenched in sweat, and surrounded by deafening applause. Kobe transformed what could have been a sad farewell into an unforgettable masterpiece, reminding everyone why he had captivated basketball fans for 20 years. As spectacular as Kobe's farewell proved to be, not every all-time great wanted such a dramatic exit. In fact, the next legend seemed almost determined to avoid every spotlight possible, MVP awards, and victories without ever appearing interested in becoming the center of attention. If basketball had presented an award for leaving a party without anyone noticing, Tim Duncan might have accepted it politely before slipping out the back door. His retirement reflected that same understated personality.
We practice as kids, and you never know when these things come into play.
Jordan with 43, along his double. They swat at it and steal it.
I remember my first 6 months of retirement, bro. It was hell. It's a lot. Bro, it was hell, bro. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And I actually had shit going on. But it was like, I remember sitting in my office and like, borderline felt depressed because I played in the NBA half my adult life, right? From 17 to 35, right?
You feel that void of that competitive nature.
Yeah, you
During the 2015-16 season, the San Antonio Spurs won an incredible 67 games, establishing themselves once again as one of the NBA's elite teams. Duncan, now 39 years old, was no longer the dominant force who had controlled both ends of the floor throughout his prime, but he remained an essential part of San Antonio's remarkable culture. Greg Popovich carefully managed his playing time throughout the regular season, hoping to preserve enough energy for one final championship run. Unfortunately, basketball rarely guarantees perfect endings. The Spurs encountered a young and explosive Oklahoma City Thunder team led by Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in the second round of the playoffs. Despite Duncan's experience and leadership, San Antonio simply could not keep pace with Oklahoma City's athleticism. In the deciding Game 6, Duncan contributed 19 points, 5 rebounds, and a block shot while playing every minute of the fourth quarter, refusing to surrender until the final buzzer sounded. Nobody realized they had just witnessed his final NBA game. Months later, the Spurs quietly released a simple press statement announcing that Tim Duncan had retired. There was no nationally televised special, no farewell documentary, and no carefully orchestrated celebration.
And the rebound by Duncan.
I was curious, when you hear the greatest of all times, does it ever get you upset when Tim Duncan's not mentioned at all?
Yeah, because he's definitely in mine. I mean, you just look at the body of work and what he's done as a power forward. I mean, he should be in the top 5.
Like kind of laughing to himself.
That's so scary.
This is the 4th quarter. This dude ran off 16 straight.
He hit you with this nigga.
He ran off 16 straight.
What did you do though? What was you thinking? What was you thinking like at 4, at 6, at 8?
This is what it was. Like I said, I'm trying to get into a verbal, something.
Yeah.
And he never said anything to me. So we go back to that butt tap.
Yeah.
The announcement felt almost unbelievably ordinary for a player who had won 5 NBA championships, earned 2 league MVP awards, collected 15 All-Star selections, and firmly established himself as the greatest power forward in basketball history. Oddly enough, that understated farewell suited Duncan perfectly. He had never played for applause, headlines, or social media attention. He had played to win basketball games, and once he realized his body could no longer help San Antonio compete at the highest level, he stepped aside with the same humility that had defined his entire career. His first retirement came in 1993, immediately after leading the Chicago Bulls to their 3rd consecutive NBA championship. His second departure in 1998 produced one of the most iconic moments in sports history when he hit the championship-winning jumper over Brian Russell to complete the Bulls' second three-peat. Most legends would have happily allowed that moment to become the permanent final image of their careers. Michael Jordan simply loved basketball too much to stay away forever. His return with the Washington Wizards surprised nearly everyone. At 38 years old, he joined a rebuilding franchise, not because he needed another championship to validate his legacy, but because his passion for competition remained stronger than the desire to. Greg Popovich carefully managed his playing time throughout the regular season, hoping to preserve enough energy for one final championship run. Unfortunately, basketball rarely guarantees perfect endings. The Spurs encountered a young and explosive Oklahoma City Thunder team led by Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in the second round of the playoffs.
I got a question. This young generation thinks a certain way. Who is your GOAT basketball?
Here we go.
You know, it's funny that everybody asked that question. And to me, I think Michael Jordan is the best in my era. The way that he played, everything that he brought to the table, not to take anything away from LeBron or Kobe. LeBron is great, but Michael was a killer from day one.
One of my most memorable stories about Chicago that I can remember. It was 97, we was in Minnesota, and Flip had switched and put me on Michael Jordan, one of the greatest, probably ever touched the ball. And we was on the right side of the court, and I counted his dribbles. I was able to catch his dribbles, you know? 1, 2, come back, cross over. He crossed it back over, 1, 2. When he crossed it back over, I stole it. Give me this.
Although many fans overlook those Washington seasons, Jordan still averaged more than 20 points per game and even produced a remarkable 51-point performance that reminded everyone flashes of greatness still remained. Eventually, however, even Michael Jordan encountered the one defender nobody has ever defeated. His actual final NBA game came in Philadelphia on April 16, 2003. Jordan scored 15 points in a respectable performance, but the statistics quickly became secondary. Late in the game, the 76ers intentionally stopped play, allowing the entire arena to rise together in appreciation. Philadelphia fans who had spent years watching Jordan eliminate their team from playoff contention stood side by side applauding him. Allen Iverson applauded. Larry Brown applauded. Every player on the floor joined the standing ovation as Jordan calmly made 2 free throws before walking off an NBA court for the final time. It was not the storybook ending that many imagined, but perhaps it revealed something even more meaningful. Michael Jordan loved basketball enough to accept that his final chapter might make him appear vulnerable, proving that genuine passion sometimes matters more than preserving a perfect legacy. The next legend, however, would face an ending that transcended basketball entirely, because Magic Johnson's final chapter became one of the most emotional and inspiring stories in sports history.